Hello once again. So this is another video lesson for communication aids and strategies using tools of technology. This time we're going to talk about effective oral presentation. So of course we need to deal with this one under purposive communication because when we communicate, okay, it's not just we're going to be limited with conversation, but of course this is the very purpose of this subject, for us to be more confident in presenting our talk to the public or to a crowd. So let's have our preparation. Of course, in everything we need to be prepared. So how are we going to prepare for this task? Okay, this one is applicable for public speaking, while some could also be applicable for any kind of speaking, but the ones that we're going to talk about will deal more on public speaking. So of course we need to know the profile of our audience. Okay, so it is important that you know who will listen to you, their age, gender, educational background, religion, economic status, and interests. Also, know how much the audience knows about the topic. That way, you can avoid discussing points that would run contrary to their beliefs and practices, and thus prevent miscommunication and misunderstanding. Yes, because sometimes we get to omit this part, okay, that just because we are given this kind of task to present something, okay, and then we don't search on what they already know. So we must know that. So further, you can introduce new things for them to learn and not simply repeat things that they may have already learned from previous speakers. So know how to read the posture and gestures of your audience members, as this will signal to you what kind of an audience they are. So you look at that one. If you think that they are getting bored, then you know that you need to look for an intervention for them to be more active in listening to you. So be ready to face different kinds of audiences, as there may be some who are questioners, disruptors, unresponsive, or bored audiences. Know how to deal with any unpleasant incident or conflict with your audience, and always stay in control of the situation. So don't be controlled with the emotions, especially if you are not receiving what you are expecting them to give as the reaction from your presentation. Next one is logistics. Okay, so it is something basic or essential for every speaker to know who is organizing the event. That's why most of the speakers get to know who are the masters of ceremony, who has organized the program, because before they start, they give thanks to these people. So with this one, you will be able to tie up the earlier presentation with your own, resulting in a more coherent presentation. So you may even give the audience an idea as to what the next is going to be. So after your presentation, you could also give them a heads up of what's going to be the next topic that they're going to listen to. Okay, so part of that logistics would be the venue. So the venue is very important because you need to locate the lights. Okay, you need to know if you could move your visual aids. You need to know where you're going to position yourself. Okay, and then remember to work on your posture and avoid bad habits when speaking. So do not block the view of your visual aids as you present them. Okay, so do not lean on any object that will give support to your weight. These postures give the impression that you lack confidence and authority. Okay, so you stand firm. Next is your facilities. So ask beforehand about the pieces of equipment available for you, or that the things that you need. If there is no available projector, find a way to have one, especially if your visual aids are highly complex. If there are any electrical problems or technical glitches you encounter, know how to troubleshoot them. So, one piece of advice with this one is to see if or to test if your presentation could really be flashed on the screen. Okay, because sometimes that's one that they worry. Most of the speakers worry. And next one is the content of the report, speech, or lecture. So since you have been invited as a speaker, the organizers might have sought you before because of your reputation as an effective speaker. If the purpose of the event is to inform, just like in a convention, conference, or a training seminar, it is expected that you are able to contribute new information. If the purpose is to entertain, your speech should be lighthearted. That's why we are telling you that you need to know your audience or on what situation they are in. However, that any communicative event may have more than one purpose, but there is always a more dominant one. So, there. Okay. Now, these are the tips. So, of course, you read a lot. You research on the topic assigned to you. Okay. Information might change. So, be updated. Okay. And then, next, prepare your oral presentation with an introduction, body, and a conclusion. So, there are different techniques to open and close your presentation. First one, using a shocking statement, a trivia. Another one beginning with a question. Okay, most of the speakers use this one, and then at the end that question must be answered through your presentation. And then another, you use a quotation. Another, you narrate an anecdote or a story. Okay, and then it could be applicable if you could also sing a line from a song. And then sometimes, okay, if the conference or the event is more of a research, you could present statistics. Okay, so these are strategies. Okay, as regards to the body of your presentation, emphasize the major points you wish to make, backed up with supporting statements to further elucidate your main points. So you arrange your thoughts in a logical sequence so your listeners can easily follow through your talk. Okay, all right. So, of course, you employ transitional or cohesive devices to make your ideas coherent. Next one, rehearse by practicing aloud and getting the feedback of those who will act as your audience during the rehearsal stage. Yes, okay. So, you can ask a friend, okay, to be with you when you will have your rehearsal. So, he or she could give his or her feedback on how to improve your presentation and so on. And then the next one is, of course, use technology. So we had one video lesson about this one. Okay, communication aids and tools. You employ those communication aids and tools in your presentation. So while doing this presentation, okay, sometimes it's really good if you're going to emphasize, okay, your main points, and that is the to strike your thought or idea. And how are you going to do this? We have this paralinguistic cues. So what are these? These are facial expression, posture, gesture, and movements. For facial expression, the eyes, okay, you could have the eye-to-eye contact, okay. So they say that the eyes are the window to the soul. This means that by establishing eye contact or through gazing, one can detect the emotional state of a person. So you cannot have an eye-to-eye contact to everyone, but at least you could have one or two or three, or it depends on the part of your presentation. For example, it is difficult to hide your real emotions and fake your feelings. When people look straight into your eyes, when you are happy, your eyes become bigger without you being conscious about it. When you are sad, your eyes become smaller as you raise your eyebrows and make them furrow. So posture, on the other hand, refers to the speaker's stance. How speakers carry themselves during the presentation will show whether or not they possess credibility. So it is important that as speakers deliver their messages, they project an air of confidence. Okay, so how do we execute the correct posture? Simply stand comfortably with your feet at least 6 to 8 inches apart with one foot over the other. So your weight should also rest on the balls of your feet and your hands should hang naturally at the sides. So do not lean on something. That will establish confidence. So another important variable is gesture. Speakers who employ gestures in their speeches or reports are more convincing than those who do not. You know that. However, they should be used only for important points raised as they can become distractive when used often. Okay, and then we have your movements. So we already have movements from your gestures, okay? But of course, we have our entire body. Swaying one's body from left to right, side to side, front to back, or pacing from one side of the stage or platform to the other can be exhibiting a negative nonverbal cue. So, a speaker should know how to move on stage. Okay. So that's why it is very, very important that you really have a rehearsal in front of the mirror or on someone else to watch you. And then, another one that could strike your thought or idea during a presentation, the prosodic features. So what are those prosodic features? We have your intonation, tone, stress, and rhythm. So it has something to do with your talk. Okay, so when making a presentation, okay, you need to observe this one. When you speak, aim at delivering your message clearly through intelligible and comprehensible pronunciation. Actually, it's also good if you could have an articulation, okay, specifically assimilation. What is this articulation? Okay, specifically assimilation, it means blending the final sound of a preceding word with the initial sound. Like for example, to each his own, instead of saying that word by word, to each his own, you're going to say to each his own. We have the pros and cons. Okay, you're going to blend the ending sounds to the beginning sounds of one another. You're going to come up with the pros and cons. Instead of the pros and cons, it will be the pros and cons. Okay, so that is all for an effective oral presentation. I'm going to put in the chat box the 4 P's in effective presentation. So kindly look at it. Thank you so much for listening into this presentation.